What a day for hockey. Welcome to Frankly Hockey, live from Italy as Frank Saravalli. He was lucky enough to be at the gold medal game today. I'm John Butchergross. Like many of you, I watched in television today. I watched with my son Jack, which made it extra special for me. And in the end, it's a Jack who gets it done, as usual. Jack Hughes erases the 46-year gold medal drought for USA Hockey as they defeat Canada 2-1 in overtime. Frank, immediate emotional reactions because you were there and you saw it in person.
Look, I've been at a lot of special hockey games, Game 7, Stanley Cup Final, lots of different events and venues around the world. And I mean, I had tears in my eyes, and for a million different reasons, not just the U.S. ending that and erasing that 46-year drought and doing it on the 46-year anniversary to the day of the Miracle on Ice, but also the way that the U.S. incorporated Johnny Gaudreau, how much this U.S. team really felt like a true team. And part of it is the magic of hockey. I mean, the rest of the U.S., and I'd love to know what the ratings will end up being, they got a taste of what makes this sport so special. You could have you could play that game over 100 times, and with all those chances that Canada had, they're winning 96 of them. But today, and I wrote in my notes, sitting in the arena at some point, I don't know, maybe 15, 16 minutes left after yet another Canada chance went wayward. Is this destiny? ? And it sure felt like, with all the different opportunities that Canada had that they couldn't convert on, that this was going to be the Americans' day, finally.
Like you said, for most of the game, Canada was out shooting Team USA 2-1, ends up being 42-28, as you see there. Both teams had excellent power play chances. Canada had a 5-on-3 that certainly they will rue for a long time. But we said it yesterday. There was one of those inspirational videos that someone sent out yesterday, and I responded, quote, tweeted, "You don't win gold medals with inspirational videos. You win with great goaltending." We talked about that, Frank. And again, we're going to get to everything here. The rundown right here for Frankly Hockey, one issue at a time. So, but let's start. Let's start at the top with Jack Hughes. What a year for him. Injured at dinner time, which was really strange. The Devils have been fighting it this year. It looks like they're not going to make the postseason. You never know for sure. Now, what kind of kick this is going to get for them and for Jack Hughes. But there it is. 6 games played, 7 points plus 8. This is a guy who obviously came into the league as a #1 overall draft pick, a huge USA Hockey career with gaudy numbers. He's exciting. He's got charisma. And really, from the get-go of this tournament, Frank, we were wondering what he would look like after 4 Nations. This was a different player, and he showed he was elite. And let's face it, Team USA needed him today. As you noticed, number 86 in this game, more than other star USA players, they were going to need him, and he came through in the end. What a moment for Jack Hughes.
Absolutely. It talked yesterday in the show. We picked our X factors, and I said, if Jack Hughes has a big day, the U.S. will win. Didn't know that he was going to score the OT winner, but it was really fitting to hear the U.S. players talk after this game about how this is a player who craves the puck in that moment and wants it on his stick. There's some players that have that instinct, that drive, that I'm going to be the guy that sticks the dagger in Team Canada, and Jack Hughes has it. And I thought this was an incredible tournament for him overall. I was highly critical of Jack Hughes coming in, saying, if the U.S. isn't going to put this guy at center, I don't think they have a prayer to have him be competitive on the wing, because he showed in best on best last year at 4 Nations that he couldn't do it. And in fact, he bristled at my question a couple of days ago when I asked what the difference has been from 4 Nations. He goes, I thought I had a great 4 Nations. I thought my game was good. And Quinn said after this game, his brother, you guys don't know shit. That was the exact quote. He said, no one knows what it's like to go through a surgery and 10 months of rehab, then have another surgery and another 10 months of rehab and get through on the other end of it because you're not feeling good the whole time. And maybe that's what it took to just get Jack Hughes back at this exact level.
Absolutely. Again, just the elite nature of this player when other players weren't quite at that level. Everyone's not going to have a great game every game. And this was a game that really suited him to his speed. He had multiple chances. And I just love that shot, Frank, on the pass from Werenski. And we'll kind of break down that last play in a second. But he's coming out with all that speed. You can tell Binnington's anticipating high glove. He's thinking high glove or maybe short side high. And he shoots an 80-mile-an-hour wrist shot, 5-hole. That's not really usually a 5-hole play is a deke. It's a soft 5-hole play, but he's thinking that the whole time. And man, he picked his spot perfectly.
That's a goal scorer's goal, really.
Yeah,
I mean, to have
he's a 40-goal guy.
to
We
be
talked
able
about it
to
yesterday. He's a 40-goal guy.
to have the poise to be able to select that spot in that moment, and really the poise that the US as a whole had in overtime. I mean, I know it was short, but Canada, and we'll talk about it later, they absolutely emptied the clip coming out of right into overtime. And I've got to be honest, in the arena, the way the US was hanging by a thread the last 45 minutes of the game, I see Nathan MacKinnon, Connor McDavid, and Cale Makar come out of the chute for Canada. I'm going, the US is in one here. They're in big trouble to think that they can hang with Team Canada, because you could say the US has more depth without Sidney Crosby. You could say they've got the better defense, and absolutely you could say that they have the better goaltending. But in the end, Canada had the ability to put the three best players in the tournament on the ice all at the same time. And that part puts the fear of God in you. And the US managed their emotions. They managed their decision-making process throughout that short OT 3-on-3. And they found a way to get a really good, clean look on that 3-on-1 that, man, they made no mistake.
Yeah, so it was just a great moment there. So the puck is slowly squirting towards the blue line. Maybe normally you would teach a guy like Jack Hughes, turn around, get your butt into Cale Makar, and just try to slow him down. There's a Canadian kind of trailing in the back, but instead he goes for the one-hand poke as Makar reached forward. Makar gets that puck first and pushes it forward. It's a 2-on-0 for Canada to win the gold medal. Instead, Hughes pokes it towards Werenski. He knows Larkin's coming too, and he's thinking, now we get a 3-on-1 if I get to this puck first. Thankfully, he does. It comes down the ice, and Werenski, who's been the best defenseman in the NHL this year, along with Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar, they're right there. He makes an unbelievable play. He slightly bullies MacKinnon there in the corner, gets the puck, tape to Hughes, who then can have it right in his wheelhouse. He doesn't have to adjust, and then one beat and then rip the wrist shot. And to have Larkin on the ice as a Team USA fan, you feel comfortable. When Eichel was on the ice today, felt comfortable. But again, Zach Werenski, that high-risk play by Hughes, sometimes you have to make a risk in this play. And you're right, Canada went for it right away. I didn't think it would take long for a goal in this game. And that moment, that reach, that kind of reach 50-50 puck between Hughes and Makar, Hughes gets it with the tap. He takes off, and then Zach Werenski with he corrals it. He bumps off MacKinnon, who's at this point has got to be exhausted, and finds Hughes, and that's the gold medal moment. And obviously the picture after the game with the bloody kind of replaces the Bobby Clark photo with the Stanley Cup and his team. This is a new grin. It's 2.0 photo with the American flag, like we mentioned, his charismatic Hollywood smile that has two chipped teeth now as a result of the Bennett High stick, and now with the flag draped over and the fist. Man, what a picture. What a moment.
Two teeth, one shot, one epic gold medal. And maybe that's the best way to sum up this entire tournament, is that 50-50 puck and the reach, which is, it doesn't get any closer than these two teams. Overtime a year ago at Four Nations. Last year, the US didn't have Quinn Hughes. This year, Canada doesn't have Sidney Crosby. And there's nothing separating these two countries. The US was the aggressor and had a way better first period than Canada. Then they kind of went into a shell, and they were in trauma mode for significant stretches of that game. They got tons of help from their penalty kill. And you call it 51-49, 53-47, either direction. That's what these two hockey mad superpowers are now. And that's what is the difference, is that one stick poke to get that puck
Mhm.
and off the other way. And if not, you're in big, big trouble and hoping somehow that
Oof.
Connor Hellebuyck bails you out again.
Right. And so there it is. The 46-year drought ends. That's an autograph picture from the moment in 1980. All the players signed it. Got that at a charity event a few years back. And so we kind of put that up, make sure. I know the lights reflected on it, but it had to be in the shot today as Mike Eruzione. He was the first intermission guest with Mike Tirico. You could sense his passion. And really a graceful moment. He said, "No, it's their time. We need a new moment. Enough about us. It's about these guys now."
Well, and I'm glad he said it because I think everyone was. You'll never get tired of the movie. You'll never get tired of their story and that moment in time for a million reasons other than just hockey, the Cold War and the backdrop that it was presented in. But the US desperately needed this. 2002, 2010, when you repeatedly finish second, and that's a perfect transition to like what this is as a watershed moment for the
Mm-hmm.
US. They sweep both gold medals in hockey at the Winter Olympics. I mean, never happened before and for this country, and now you can kind of you've slayed the dragon. You've tangled with the 800-pound gorilla and come out on the other side, and you've gone and done what you said you wanted to do, collect Canadian tears. They said it months ago. It took enormous stones for that team in that commercial, in that locker room to say, that's our goal. They weren't beating around the bush. They weren't saying, hey, it'd be nice to go to Milan and get a medal. That's never been the intention. The intention has been go for gold. And the U.S. found a way, particularly when chips were stacked against them at varying moments, to prevail. And I've seen all these Canadians crying on social media. Oh, you need a game where Sidney Crosby's out and it took 3-on-3 overtime for you to win. That's not how it works. But you didn't. Nathan MacKinnon had that look near the net with a wide open
Oof.
cage. He hit the side of it. Connor McDavid, Macklin Celebrini, breakaways. They didn't score. No, let me quote the Tragically Hip for you here. No one cares about something you didn't do. And that's it. We'll
Wow,
leave
great
it right
line.
at that. You can say
Mm.
whatever you want about the US and all these other factors that went into the game. They showed up and they converted when it mattered, and your team didn't.
Right. And so writing a new story does indeed happen. We mentioned yesterday's show, the World Championships last spring. That was a cool moment. We know it doesn't reach the elevation of the Stanley Cup playoffs or the Olympics or Four Nations, but it was still cool for the USA to do that, to come together and have momentum towards this Olympic year. They had just lost Four Nations. A couple of guys on the Olympic team were there. And so that was cool. The women's team, as you mentioned, now is really looking strong, and they're a young team, so they should be strong 4 years from now. The USA sled hockey team always dominates. They seem to win every medal in every tournament, every championship. We had the back-to-back World Juniors. So, but again, we mentioned it, Frank. Yesterday and the last couple of days. This is the big one, though. This is really the big one, which really brings it all together, right? It ties in the room. It brings the room together when the NHL players tournament, which is what this is, the NHL Players International Tournament, the Olympic Games, the high of the high. Some of these guys, this is Brad Marchand's only chance to win a gold medal. He won't be back in 4 years, and probably Tom Wilson, probably Mark Stone. It's like this is a really, truly one game that has so many huge, ramifications individually and as a team and as an organization for USA Hockey and Billy Guerin, who selected these players. It means he'll probably be back in 4 years. Like, this is important as a team and as a country and as an organization, USA Hockey, but all these individual people as well. Whether you're on the winning side or the losing side, it gives you more runway to do this again in 4 years.
Well, I mean, with all due respect to all those other events that you just mentioned, World Juniors, World Championship, under 17s, women's gold, sledge hockey, whatever it is, none of those matter in the grand scheme, because if you really want to have the conversation about being the best hockey country in the world, you can't do it until you do this. And now that's what made this so significant. We talked yesterday. This is Canada's Super Bowl. The country shut down this morning. I mean, bars were open at 6 a.m. across the country, and fans are out celebrating. They took over the arena here in Milan. You couldn't go 5 feet last night at dinner without running into someone in a Canadian jersey. It means more to them because so much of their national identity comes from hockey. It's their sport. It's what they care about. It's what they're good at. It's what they invented. And in the US, it doesn't have that. But to be given this stage as the premier sport at the Winter Olympics, it obviously wasn't in prime time, but I bet you the ratings are massive. The first thing I did when I was on my way back from the arena, it was chaos getting out of there to get back to the hotel to chat with you. I called my family and then I called my parents and I said, "What's it like?" And my dad said, "They're out celebrating in the street." That's what this means to proud Americans. Jack Hughes gave a great post-game interview with Catherine Tappan, just saying it's all about the country. It's all about being proud to play for the guys that you went through this program with. And there was something about this team. Only 36 players ever in USA hockey history have won Olympic gold as men. And with that, now there's 25 new ones, and it took them slaying the best who had won. I mean, if Canada won today, this would have been 16 consecutive wins in a row at best on best in the Olympics. I mean, they just don't lose. And so you get to the overtime and you're thinking, those guys on the ice, Canada with their experience, their history, all these things, the deck is stacked against the US to break through, but you have to find a way because until you've done it, you haven't. And you can talk about wanting to win and gold or bust or whatever phrase you want to throw at them. Until you actually do it, it doesn't mean anything. And they backed up everything that they said and wanted to do.
Yeah, it was a huge Bucci overtime challenge moment for me, the biggest ever. I had people texting me, Frank, that just haven't texted me for years. Clearly, they were watching. Maybe the whole country wasn't quite at it from beginning to end, but certainly by the East Coast. It's 8:15 on a Sunday. A lot of people are up. It's not a work day, so the fact that at least it was on a weekend, that's a plus. And then by the time we get to 9 Eastern, 10 Eastern, middle part of the game, late second, and then, of course, the tight third period at overtime, all the country is up and watching. It'll be a record-breaking rating for sure, an all-time number one rating of all time when it comes out tomorrow.
And that's why it needed to happen. Because if everyone tunes in and your country loses again, everyone shrugs and goes back to what they were doing. And instead, now everyone's Googling and trying to find out about the Hughes brothers, about growing up in Michigan on a pond, about where your nearest local rink is, about how you can get your kid involved in this sport, that this was the watershed moment that in this country, this sport needed, because this generation of players is going to be the same that the 1996 World Cup team was for the guys that were on the ice today, which is the 1980 team was for the 96 guys. It happens so far and few between for this country that it also felt to me, and I don't know if you felt any of this, that if they didn't win today, that it might be a while. I know you mentioned Sidney Crosby and Brad Marchand and some other guys that might be on the way out, but I'm thinking Macklin Celebrini was an MVP candidate in this tournament. Connor McDavid's waiting in the wing. Matthew Schaefer probably should have been in this tournament. The U.S. doesn't really have that quality of players coming. Not that they would have been older or couldn't have attacked it 4 years from now in France, but you only get one shot to do this, maybe, and it might be another 12 years before you have another chance where your team is as good as the one that the U.S. had here, and they delivered.
You're right. I think Team USA is fine 4 years from now, but you're right. After that, because Gavin McKenna is going to be in that team. I mean, like you said, Canada has these 18 to 21-year-olds that's going to set them up for 2 Olympics. Team USA, they're set up for this one. This was their Olympics to win. Hughes, Eichel, Matthews, they're in their prime youngish, actually. So next 4 years from now, I think they'll be good again. Though even Luke Hughes might be an elite guy, and he'll join the defensive core and maybe replace a Slavin. But yeah, I agree. This was one you wanted to get. And they do indeed a watershed moment. You're right. There's a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old that Jack Hughes is going to become their guy now. He's their guy. He's their hero. And again, I just love what Mike Eruzione said. Like, it's time for these guys. We can't keep rolling out the Miracle on Ice guys and just bring them out every time we have a tournament. Now we can, 10 years from now, we can bring out Jack Hughes, and we can bring out other moments like this. And so it is indeed done. But let's face it, Frank, it would not have been done at all today if it weren't for Connor Hellebuyck. I'm so happy for him, though. The criticism he has taken, which he has earned with his postseason numbers. Let's face it, they're professional hockey players, and they sign up for this. And if you don't perform multiple times, you're going to get criticized. But I don't think it was ever really mean spirited. It's just he just wasn't getting the job done. But oh my goodness, the save on Devon Toews will go down as the save in USA hockey history. It was a better performance than Jim Craig. USA won in 1980 because of Jim Craig, and Team USA won in 2026 because of Connor Hellebuyck.
Wow. So you said better performance than Jim Craig. And I mean, I don't know that I'd argue with it. The only thing I thought was he was channeling his inner Jim Craig. I mean, that save on Devon Toews, how he somehow got a paddle on it. I mean, I was at that end of the ice sitting in the upper deck in the press tribune. And I mean, I thought he just missed the net. I'm like, how did Devon Toews miss the net from that angle? That's why I sent out that tweet, and they were like, yeah, Frank, thanks, we're watching. But in the arena in real time, it happens so fast that you're like, how'd that not go in? I mean, it just seemed obvious that that would be a goal. And at every stage, Connor Hellebuyck of this game, he was square, he was dialed in, and he was in the exact right spot. And I don't mean that as a blocker. I mean, just like his movement was so quick, his fast twitch movement in this game, and his reads were so good that he was actually in place, like particularly in spots, hugging the post or whatever it might have been. He was active with his stick.
Right.
That this is the fastest hockey game I've ever seen. It happened so fast that even guys who process fast, the puck was moving so fast that they couldn't handle it and didn't know what to do with it. They were giving it away because no one wanted to be the guy that made a mistake with the puck moving that fast. And this is a guy who, to remind everyone, last year when he won the Hart Trophy and won the Vezina, he was not one of the 6 players named to Team USA's first preliminary roster. You only got 6. And I remember I made some calls and I was like, are you nuts? Like, how did you guys not put Connor Hellebuyck on the first 6? Like, he holds the 2 toughest trophies to win from an individual perspective. And the response back was, did you see him in the playoffs? Like, do you know how goaltending works? Doesn't it make you nervous? And to think that he's the guy that slayed that his own inner dragon today of this notion that he's not a big game player and he can't do it. No one will ever say that again.
Absolutely. And not only that paddle save on Toews, but it was the first initial save, which really was indicative of his day today. It was a hard skate to the stick of Toews. So Toews had chance for 2 tap-ins. If Hellebuck's a little passive there, deep in his crease, which he's been criticized of in the postseason, the first shot pass is a tap-in goal. But he got his skate on that. It comes back to Toews, and all he has to do is find the 4x6. But that reach right out with the paddle, it deflects off that and went into the corner. And that was just one of amazing save. And there's that iconic picture. Again, that is the greatest save in USA hockey history. Great job, Jared McCauley, our producer, for pulling that up right in time. And that is just a beautiful picture. He will have that above his bed in the entrance of his man cave, maybe to put it on the front door of his house. 8 feet tall and 4 feet wide right there.
And Jared Tilton from Getty Images obviously deserves a ton of credit. I mean, this is something. I mean, this is art. I mean, the gymnastics, the flexibility, the awareness, the dedication, the commitment to making the save, the hunger to do it. I gotta be honest though, like to think of the chances that Canada had that they didn't convert on, like it just felt like something was happening. I can't explain when you're in the arena and you see it and it's like save after save after save or missed net, or how did that not go in? Like, I can't, like, so this question of which missed chance will Canada rue the most, like the
There's
McKinnon
a lot of
empty
them.
net, the
Yep.
Taves, the power play chances that they had 5-on-3,
Breakaways.
two different breakaways, the best player in the world breakaway, Connor McDavid, and then Macklin Celebrini breakaway. I mean, they had slots from the inner slot. They had shots moving left to right. I mean, they had everything you could possibly want in a game. They threw the kitchen sink, and it wasn't enough.
McDavid, McKinnon end up being -2s. They were on the ice for both goals that America scored in this game. Again, Makar went for it. Again, he had that goal they had to have. You know, once you're down 1-0, you have to score, and that was why he
Beautiful.
was my X factor yesterday on Frankly Hockey, because coming downhill from the right point, he's the most dangerous player in hockey for my mind. When he comes downhill like that, Jake Gensel kind of overcommitted. He didn't have to. That's his point guy. That's the guy he needs to watch. He tried to help out a teammate who ended up being fine. But in the end, it's Makar who comes downhill and makes the play. But then after that, yeah, all those chances for Canada and save after save, even like, you know, they're the grade B pluses. Hellebuyck made look so easy. Like, again, as a confident, as a fan of his team, like, I was very confident he was going to make every save. There's nothing like your goalie when he does that. It reminded me, again, I was a Boston Bruin fan when I was a kid in the 70s, and every time the Bruins played Bernie Parent, I never thought they were going to score against him. He had that vibe, and that's where Connor Hellebuyck had that Bernie Parent in the 70s when the Flyers won back-to-back cups. You know, Ken Dryden with the Canadians, late 70s, 4 straight cups. And then, you know, Hasek down the road. It's like, that's what he had, and his teammates could feel it. And Matthew Tkachuk said it, Frank. The puck is just sticking to him. He said that, you know, after the last game, and like, okay, we have confidence in that guy. We're fine. But that being said, it was tough going against Canada. They were dominating the play, and Hellebuyck was there time after time after time. I thought he was, you know, practically all 3 stars of the game.
Yeah, legendary performance. I mean,
Legendary.
this was something that people will talk about forever on both sides of the border. Something that Canada would like to forget. And you know, you mentioned Bernie Parent. The saying was, only the Lord saves more than Bernie Parent. That's what was on bumper stickers around Philadelphia. And there was just something happening today. I don't, divine intervention, I wouldn't link it to that, but like the fact that Nathan McKinnon arguably like can give Connor McDavid a run for his money for best player in the world, has 4 feet of net, 5 feet of net to shoot at, and misses, like just hits the side of the net. How do you explain that? How do you explain all those things happening at once? That's what the beauty of the Olympics is to me. And I don't mean the result. I mean, this is not a 7-game series. The urgency, the heightened awareness, the intensity that was in that arena, like, just a funny aside, I forgot to, like, I was so amped up. First off, I couldn't sleep last night, and I didn't really drink anything all day. I forgot to drink water, forgot to drink Powerade. At some point during the second period, I thought I was having a kidney stone attack. And it was just like, I was so lost in what was happening in front of me and the game and the moment and everything going on, that's what that experience was like in the building for everyone. You're sitting on the edge of your seat. Doesn't matter who you're rooting for, knowing the magnitude of the moment, one shot, knowing going into overtime that someone's going to score the goal of their life on either side that people are going to talk about forever. I mean, that's history. Like, you think about someone sitting there essentially having a stone that they're chiseling for all time what's about to happen next into. And that part, it really grabs you, the enormity of the moment.
Next on the rundown, why did Canada empty the clip in overtime? I know you touched on it. Do you want to hit something more on that and just that philosophy? Is that just like you want to dictate the terms, pedal to the metal? Because I think, you know, they were the better team there. After Matt Boldy scored first, they tilted the ice the rest of the way.
Yes, and I understand the notion, because think about what I was saying about starting OT with McKinnon, McCarr, and McDavid, and you go, oof, man, I bet the U.S. really wish they had Cole Caulfield right now, or
Yep.
someone else that could
Or
deliver
win the
magic when you
faceoff.
needed it.
And they didn't, right? Canada got the puck. They won the puck battle. And then you're like, oh, here we go. McCarr, McKinnon, McDavid, the best 3-on-3 threesome in the world.
Right. The best. I mean, you could make the argument again, outside of Connor Hellebuyck, best 3 players in the tournament. Like it in the world. Like it's
Yes.
what they can do at 3-on-3 is crazy. So I guess the point would be their decision-making process. If you go back and dissect that 90 seconds of OT, their aggression, I'd never say to be complacent or to sit back, like, but they were all gas, no breaks. And the trouble with all gas and no breaks in overtime, in an NHL regular season game, you're like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. But in the Olympic gold medal game, with the power that's still on the other side, one turnover, one shot that goes the wrong direction, Connor McDavid is stuck in the corner. That's an odd man rush guaranteed. And I just thought Canada was so aggressive with their decision-making process that they lost themselves a little bit. And that's what results in the goal, is that Canada, they got over their skis in OT because they were so aggressive, and that's what cost them.
And the 3 players on the ice, let's face it, John Cooper went with a short bench again. McDavid played 24 minutes, and these are high-stress minutes, right? These aren't NHL. You're playing the Winnipeg Jets in February, 24 minutes. These are intense 24 minutes. Celebrini, 22 minutes. He wasn't there, but McKinnon, 21. And then McCarr, 24 and a half. So that was a tired McCarr, not quite and get to the poke with the reach. That was a tired McKinnon at the other end when Werenski easily bumped him off the puck and fed a fresh Jack Hughes, who wasn't on the ice, at the start of overtime. He had Boldy out there, and so yeah, you're right. The short bench. Reinhart played 6:57, Jarvis played 7:59, Hagel played 10, Horvat played 10. Bennett played 11. Marchand played 10. Doughty and Theodore didn't get a lot
That's
of
because they
shifts. It
weren't
was
getting
mainly
anything from them.
Right,
That's why they had
right.
to play them that little, because they weren't giving John Cooper what he needed. And he said, well, I got to keep going to the only guys that are going for me, which is great, except, and that's not why they lost. It's because the players that were on the ice tried to end it with the high-end skill that they have, and they gave less consideration or thought to what happens if I don't. And that's why the puck ended up behind Jordan Binnington.
Let's switch to Sidney Crosby now. Again, that was a big news item throughout. You had it right about 50-50 last night. And again, I thought all along he wasn't going to play. The limp looked too severe to me. The angle of that knee looks like a classic knee sprain. Let's see, he's missed, close to a week. Now it might be another week. We'll see. But, what did his absence do? I don't think in a game like this, one player, obviously outside of McDavid and Quinn Hughes, those are the two. I just couldn't believe some of those times, Frank, when Quinn Hughes is staying with Connor McDavid, or McDavid's chasing him and not catching Quinn Hughes. That showed you the elite skating of Quinn Hughes and what he does to a team when that guy's on your side. Again, the guy that wasn't there for 4 Nations. But what could Crosby have done in your mind that maybe could have made a difference for Canada? Maybe one, because obviously in a game like this, 1-1 after 60 minutes, it's a game of inches. Multiple guys had their chances. Tkachuk had the game on his stick late third after the Jack Eichel one-timer. He just couldn't quite get it on there. What about the Crosby factor?
I think Canada wins this game if Sidney Crosby is healthy and playing. And the reason for that is because they had a 5-on-3 advantage. And with Sidney Crosby off of that power play, everything changes. The way he can impact and how they entered this championship gold medal game 7 for 16 on the power play, that's not an accident. And so I just think he's a game changer for a million reasons. The experience, the leadership, everyone looks to him. There's an emotional part of it of, well, now we got to do this without one of the best players in the world, an NHL Mount Rushmore player. That's an emotional letdown before Canada even takes the ice. And look, everyone commends Sidney Crosby, and rightfully so, for his decision-making process. Doesn't want to leave Canada in a tough spot if he decides to give it a go and can't. But the truth is, his body didn't cooperate. It's not so much Sidney Crosby saying I can. It's more so his knee is messed up. And so I get the narrative and the storytelling, and this quote from Canada General Manager Doug Armstrong, who joined the CBC Consortium pregame show before the game, just said, "Look, we met with the coach and doctor for 45 minutes. At the end of the day, Sid felt it was best for the team that he should give that opportunity to someone else. It's obviously a very gut-wrenching decision for him, but it shows the character he has of stepping aside because he didn't think he could be at his best to give us an opportunity." So that's Doug Armstrong. That's Sidney Crosby's story, and obviously a sour taste in everyone's mouth, including.
Then that was your point, bringing that up first.
Yeah, and I think in the end, it's disappointing that Sidney Crosby couldn't go, because forever now this is going to be the narrative from Canadians. Not only did it take 3-on-3, but because Sid wasn't there, that's the only reason the U.S. won. And I think that really sells short the makeup and gumption of this U.S. team that, by the way, played really well throughout the tournament, 6-0. And the way that they were able to keep teams for the most part to the outside, and a million other factors. But when it comes to Sidney Crosby, that, like, searching for that third gold medal in his career as an Olympian is an incredible feat. And to see it fall short here, 16 career points in 17 games played in the Olympics, there's zero doubt that this was a factor in the result of the game, in my view. Because then think about what you just mentioned with deployment and sending, the wave of attack over the boards. When you've got to take Sid out from the center position, that means John Cooper went right with Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid and Macklin Celebrini from the hop. There had to be a twinge of them saying, well, we got to put McKinnon centering his own line because that's our best shot at balance. I just think it throws off the power play. It throws off your lineup and the leadership and emotional factor. I think there was a ton of gamesmanship here. My sense, as much as they tried, was that Sidney Crosby was probably never playing in this game, and that they went through the rest of the process. I don't know if to mess with the U.S. or to give their players hope or what, but I don't know. It was a tough one.
That's what I thought it was. I thought he's not. There's no way. We saw him limp off. We saw the video there that his knee side to side, which is a classic MCL sprain, situation. I never believed he was going to play after seeing him limp to the room like that. That just seemed bad. But in the end, and before we move on, I just want to, again, Matt Boldy, enormous, 18 and a half minutes. The first goal, as it turned out, as Canada carried the play. Now, I don't know if they still would have if they had scored first, but getting that first goal is so important in low-scoring playoff-type atmospheres. It just is. And Boldy got it with an unbelievable individual performance.
Want to know this? Best on best now in the final game, the team that scores first is 10-3, unsurprisingly enough.
Yeah. 70%. Yeah, again, that's
crazy.
Yes, I love stats.
Even including this game, the U.S. has never led a gold medal game after 2 periods. They were only a couple minutes away at the end of the second from surviving and going into the third feeling a little bit different, but they were on their heels for a huge chunk of the last half of that game, and they were hanging on for dear life.
And again, the combination of that winning goal, ice time, Zach Werenski was only played 11 minutes in this game. And then Jack Hughes, who played 13. So they had to feel fresh. They had to feel great.
I wonder why Werenski only played 11 minutes.
It is, yeah. As I watched the game, he wasn't, really noticeable to me. Obviously, Quinn Hughes played 25. He's the best player. He's out there a lot. And
But they kept him on the
then you
third
had Jake.
pair. Like, why
I
is that?
know. Well, they love McAvoy's defense, especially once they got the lead. They're thinking, not that they're trying to win 1-0, but McAvoy played 22, almost 23. Hughes played 25. That's their pair. That they were most comfortable with them, obviously. Slavin and Faber, who both were really good getting sticks on pucks. Faber is an elite 101 defender. Both played 18 and a half. In fact, they both played 18:33 exactly. And then Werenski 12, Sanderson 11 and a half. Hannafin only saw 6 minutes of ice time. So yeah, Werenski was very fresh for that 3-on-3, and I'm sure he's also, just absolutely filled with unused energy that he wanted to use, and he used it perfectly on that last sequence for the game-winning goal.
Well, but isn't that the hallmark of Zach Werenski's game? Is that he's arguably one of the most well-rounded defensemen, like plays as well on his own end as he does up front, and clearly made a big play to help on the winner. I'm shocked that they utilized him in that way. Not critical, because you can't criticize what wins and what works, but will be interesting to pick all this apart again. Rosters and thoughts and everything else. We can save that for tomorrow's show, but man, what an unbelievable day.
Another painful loss for Connor McDavid. He was the hero in the Four Nations, but let's face it, this was a Game 7, much like a couple years ago against Florida on the road. And again, -2 doesn't look good. He had the breakaway. He was, he's a factor, but in the end, it wasn't, an overwhelming. These type of games are hard for one person to really be that noticeable, and it's because everyone's going. These are great players playing balanced ice time for the most part. They're going all out every shift. But McDavid, obviously he's the MVP and the record-breaking point total and everything. But certainly a painful loss for him, Frank. He waited a long time for his first Olympic experience because of the drought we've been in, best on best, and now he's got to wait another 4 years.
That's a tough one. I mean, back-to-back Stanley Cup final losses, now add in this Olympic gold, and is incredible that he scored the OT winner in the Four Nations face-off, but that tournament in a lot of ways doesn't count. It's not because the US lost, it's because it was a manufactured event that was to serve as an appetizer for this. And this is for all time. And so watching McDavid again wind up through the neutral zone in OT, like I thought he might have scored in the first 15 seconds. That's how powerful he was. And
right,
make no mistake, Connor Hellebuyck was the MVP of this tournament. But Connor McDavid was the best player in this tournament from the start. He played hockey at a level in this tournament that we have never seen. And want to take you inside, I guess we'll save it for the MVP conversation, but
okay.
You have to turn in your ballot by the end of the first period. You don't know
which is odd.
Point who's going to win, and it's so silly odd. The way they do it, but McDavid was the best player in this tournament. I think that's true, but Connor Hellebuyck was the most valuable.
Yeah, you have plenty of time to cast a vote, and it doesn't take that long. It takes forever after all these celebrations and pictures and everything to organize something like that. So
just get it right.
Just silly. Yeah, just get it right. It's not that It's whatever. Okay. Let's move on to the USA penalty kill. Oh, by the way, and Connor McDavid will be 33 years old the next Olympics. So again, he'll still be fine, but he won't be skating like he did when he was 25 at 33. But he'll still be very, very good, and he'll have another chance to get it done for sure.
Well, here's another question for you: will Connor McDavid win a Stanley Cup between now and his next crack at the Olympics in France in 2030?
Well, if he does, I don't think it'll be with Edmonton, because I just don't think they're going to have the squad to do it in these next couple of years. I think his other outfits too.
Then what's the conversation and narrative and storyline going to be heading into France?
Yeah, well, it'll make that tournament even bigger for him to get, because he'll really need that to see where he is, what team he is on. If for some reason he still on Edmonton, I don't think he will be at that point. And if he wins the cup for another team besides Edmonton going into the year, and so, yeah, that story is gaining kind of every year that goes by. It's like and most, you look at the greatest NHL players of all time. Just do it by leaders and points. Go right down, all of them pretty much have a Stanley Cup. Marcel Dion is probably the biggest exception. But every legend has their championship in hockey. Ted Williams didn't get one in baseball. Dan Marino didn't get one. But there's no one in hockey at that level who didn't get their championship. So every year goes by, he's kind of on an island there. But again, it took a while for other people to get there first, Yzerman and others, and he could end up with 3 in the end. So there is time for this story to be written. USA penalty kill, 17 for 17. You talked about it yesterday, Frank, and especially the 5-on-3. That was the moment of the championship, the gold medal game for Team USA. I tweeted it out back in those Stanley Cup winning days for Pittsburgh. They're back-to-back. These Mike Sullivan coach teams were always excellent 5-on-3 PKers. Brooks Orpik and these guys, they have a philosophy. It's a tight triangle, and they trust their goalie. And they got through that 5-on-3, and again, the other power play chances for Canada as well.
Borderline miraculous. And the way that they did it, I mean, using 2 forwards in that circumstance is exceedingly rare. Like, I can't even explain how many other teams, 99% of teams would not do that, I believe. And Dylan Larkin deserves full marks for the work that he did on the entirety of that two-man disadvantage. And I mean, JT Miller got a run, Brock Nelson got a run, Brock Faber played a huge chunk of it, and then Jacob Slavin came in. Those 5 guys to kill off that penalty, or those penalties plural, in that moment in time, I mean, it changed the game. Because not only did Canada not really do a great job steadying the puck. I mean, think about McKinnon and a shot that rims around the boards and essentially a self-ice. That wasn't a high percentage shot. Like, Canada had these moments, whether it was OT or McKinnon there, that they got, it's not greedy, but they were so hungry to do it themselves that they got away from themselves. Like, that shot from McKinnon, again, not high percentage. McDavid and some of the takes that he had to the net, like, they put themselves in spots that we don't normally see from them. And I'm not saying selfish. I'm commending them for their aggression and how much they want it. But in some ways that made the Americans' life a little bit easier to try and, collapse in and get the puck out and make a play.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I was concerned about with Hellebuyck, are those kind of short side, bad angle, bank in shots. But he was excellent, really making sure he got high and over, like the famous Marc-Andre Fleury save on Nicholas Lidstrom in the waning moments of the Penguins Stanley Cup with Fleury and young Crosby and Malkin. He was really good at that. And like I said, also aggressive at the top of the crease on the Taves initial save, and then the stick as well. Just a different Connor Hellebuyck. It'd be fascinating to see, Frank, if he carries this over. And it looks like Winnipeg might not make the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's too bad, because I really would like to see what he would be like now in the playoffs. Has he found the formula? Whether it was preparation, whether it was mindset, whether it was technique, whatever it was. Now, again, you'll never play on a team as great as this. All his teammates are amazing, but still, he carried the day. And I would have loved to have seen him this year. And who knows, maybe he's going to come back and go on a run, and Winnipeg's going to win 10 in a row. I don't know. But it was something to watch for him. But yeah, Canada with that 5-on-3, and really the end of regulation. It's like they're going to win. They're going to score here, right? Like, I mean, I assume everyone in the arena felt that.
I mean, that's what I was feeling. Like, how long, as good as ridiculous as Connor Hellebuyck was, how long can you possibly hold him off? How many is too many? It's like, back in the day, they had those arcades where like the coins would kind of like hang off the edge and the thing would move up and push them over. And then somehow at some point you'd hit the jackpot and it would take one of those coins trickling down to kind of make the whole thing go. And that's what the US was in the second half of that game. It was like, which one's going to be the one coin that drops that sends a jackpot over the edge for Team Canada? And they never got it. They never got there.
And just you mentioned Dylan Larkin on the 5-on-3. Just a shout out to him. Obviously, he was on the ice for the winner, 16 minutes, 24 seconds. Just a dependable professional. We talked about almost like a heart and soul guy. I mean, they all were happy to get the gold medal, but again, he really lit up when that gold medal was put around his neck. He hasn't had much playoff experience with Detroit. Looks like he'll get it this year. So another guy I'm looking forward to see how he carries this over when he goes back to his club. Does his stature increase now? This almost makes Detroit better because we have a gold medal captain on our team now. And we feel good about ourselves. So Dylan Larkin, big shout out to him.
Well, I was gonna say, with all due respect to Auston Matthews or to Quinn Hughes or the Tkachuk brothers, to me, Dylan Larkin was the emotional leader of this team from start to finish. He brought it in every way, the intensity, how much he cares, his love of the country. It shined through in a big, big way. Charlie McAvoy's right there with him, but
yes,
Larkin and the penalty killing, being perfect in this tournament, and the management staff also deserves, Bill Guerin and his team deserve some credit here because they took players that were deeply unpopular with the fan base. JT Miller, Vincent Trocheck. Hey, we could find better players elsewhere to play these roles and just get them to penalty kill. And those guys bought in. They were dialed in. And to think that you shut down a Canadian power play 3 times, including a 5-on-3, that was 7 for 16. I mean, damn near 50%, 43, 44% for the tournament. You didn't give up anything. And the U.S., it really helped that they remained, for the most part, really pretty disciplined. So a lot of different factors played into that perfect U.S. PK, but that is a penalty killing group for the ages, the way they did from start to finish in the tournament.
Yeah, tough game for the Tkachuks. They both played just 15 minutes. They weren't much of a factor. Again, Matthew, a couple of times around the net, he had a chance with the goal. He had a skate right there after the Eichel slap shot. I think Jack Eichel has surpassed Auston Matthews as a better player, Frank. I think Toronto would make a straight up trade for Jack Eichel for Auston Matthews, and Vegas would not make that trade. I think that's interesting. Eichel played 20 minutes. He's just an incredible skater, defensive-minded. He also has a great shot. Again, he almost produced the winning goal when it was 1-1, as Tkachuk couldn't quite put it through. Matthews was fine. He made a couple of good defensive plays. He was on the ice with a Boldy goal, but Boldy made that happen all by himself. And he certainly back-checked and won some face-offs. But Eichel, I thought, really, again, his stature continues to rise. And outside of if he had a college teammate who could have made a save there late in the third period against Providence, he'd have an NCAA championship, a Stanley Cup, and a gold medal. Eichel was really starting to raise that career resume. I think he's a chance to be on the Mount Rushmore of USA-born players when he's done as the top 4 USA-born player.
It certainly will be in the conversation, that's for sure.
Yep.
And special player who I view Jack Eichel as really kind of one of the leaders of that U.S. National Development Program core. Like the guys that were all together going through the program, he feels like the poster boy for it. And in a really good way, because I think that connective tissue is part of what helped this team be really successful and achieve their ultimate goal, is that they've been together, working together for 10 plus years now. And I feel like he's the guy that sort of stands at the forefront of that, of, hey, like what we do for our club teams and winning the Stanley Cup, all that's great, but this is different. And that felt like that part of that emanated from him, that connective tissue.
And I love the Jack Hughes interview with Catherine Tappan after the game. Boy, he hit all the right chords, what was in his heart and his brain, talking about the brotherhood of USA hockey, how strong it was. And there were, there were clues of that, during the week. You about the analogy of the Ryder Cup room, how it's very important, why Team Europe always beats Team USA in the Ryder Cup is their room is just passionate. And he says, going back, these guys were teammates back at USA Hockey. They won championships, U18, U17, those not just the World Junior. These, the younger groups also played championships around the world. And you create that bond. You win. Yeah, that's best on best teenager stuff. And for them at the time, this is the best in the world, and you win your age group. It doesn't matter what age group it is. And so I really enjoyed his. He was obviously he has charisma. He's got swagger. You've dealt with him one-on-one in rooms. He can be combative a bit. He's cocky, but I've always liked his charisma and his confidence. And that interview, I thought there was a humility, there was a selflessness, there was a team first, country first. His brain is really smart. He picked the right words, the right observations. His brother Quinn did it when he won the overtime goal. So that really was another great moment reflective of these hockey players and how selfless they are and can be.
That interview was iconic.
It was iconic.
I think the biggest thing that sticks out for me, the word I would use to describe the emotion Jack Hughes was feeling is pride. Pride in country, pride in brotherhood, pride in the game that they just played. I mean, we can say what we want about them being on their heels, but not every team can bend and not break. A lot of teams break. Czechia broke. Finland broke against Canada in those situations. And the U.S. didn't. And when it was time to get off the mat and put a goal in the back of the net, they answered. And the other part of this is going to be now, as you know, let's have the conversation about 3-on-3.
Let's do it.
Should a tournament like this, should the magnitude that is connected to this game, should it be deciding an Olympic gold medal game? I'm not saying this because the U.S. won. I'm saying this because I said it yesterday before we knew what the result was, that I'm okay with it. You have to determine a winner. In the NHL, they use 3-on-3. Do they do that in the Stanley Cup playoffs? No. Is it absolute carnage and war? Yes. But this isn't that. These aren't 7-game series. So to expect that this game is going to be treated in the same manner, I don't think that makes sense. I think it lines up perfectly. Single game elimination, you get 3-on-3 OT for 20 minutes until there's a winner. No shootout. Absolutely no shootout. But I'm okay with this ending the way that it does. And to me, it doesn't change the result. And any Canadian that's out there that wants to dig in on that, you sent Makar, McKinnon, and McDavid on the ice. If you can't win with them on there, I mean, you would think that Canada would have an even bigger advantage with those guys out there and to play 3-on-3. I would think that they are way better suited to play the U.S. straight up 3-on-3 than the other way around.
Yeah, I thought I was in the minority for this. I'm glad you said it as well, and I've been tweeting about it all week. I don't have a problem with 3-on-3. One reason why I like it is it's usually a beautiful goal. It's a skillful, beautiful goal. Megan Keller's goal was a gorgeous, iconic goal for women's hockey.
That's a great point.
It's not a wrist shot from the point that goes off some guy's ass. Yeah, it goes off some guy's ass in the net. There's a scrum, all those kinds of goals that, playoff goals where it's just throw it at the net and hope for good things. Well, what about the space and the beauty and the poetry, whether it was, if Makar would have stole that puck and went over to McDavid, who one time short side high, would have been an amazing moment, would have been a beautiful moment. So I like them because they're clean, skillful. Also, they look good on television. We're trying to grow the game. You want goals like that to grow the game, not some kind of, who scored? I don't know. It went off of 18 people. It's a wrist shot from the point from the number 6 defenseman that happened to hit a skate blade. So I think it's exciting, Frank. We've had it long enough in the NHL. When we get the best of 3-on-3 in the NHL, it's exhilarating. It's some of the best moments. It's best let's face it. And most of sports are a television show now. It's not just pure sports anymore. It is a TV show. It makes money for these players and coaches and us and people in the front office and people who sell tickets and concession people. Just there's so many jobs professional sports creates. So it is a TV show, and it's great TV.
But it also produces a result. As much as I love the tension of a 2 OT, 3 OT game, like it can get exhausting at times. And there's not thrilling because the amount of space that's chewed up by these big bodies is so little and so far and few between that you need to take players off the ice to really open it up. And that's what we see repeatedly in 3-on-3. It's a different style of game. It's a possession game. It's a skill game. It's a thinking game. And there's also skating involved because you're able to create rushes. So look, I like it, and it has nothing to do with the result or who won today. I'm okay, perfectly okay. Single elimination, end a tournament with 3-on-3.
Connor McDavid is the MVP of the men's Olympic tournament. He said after the game, Frank, I thought we played a great game. Their goalie played very well. That is true. What can you tell us more about Connor McDavid selected as the MVP?
Yeah, so we were talking briefly about how you have to submit your ballot and the deadline is by the end of the first intermission. So tough spot to do it in. I think that's a mistake. It's a privilege to vote, and I'm glad I did. And I did select Connor McDavid because we don't know the result. We don't know how it's going to play out. And he was the best player from the start of this tournament. Connor Hellebuyck, the other Connor, was the most valuable player, and it is unquestioned. And it should be corrected because there's a better way to do this. It should be a correctable thing. But nonetheless, just wanted to share that detail of, hey, what's the voting process like? And that kind of brings us right to the all tournament team because you're putting that together as well. And for me, it was very simple. Also had to turn in my ballot before the end of the first period. Connor Hellebuyck has the wrong flag on him, but that's okay. My selections were Connor Hellebuyck and Quinn. I did Connor Hellebuyck, Quinn Hughes, and Zach Werenski. Those were my three from the U.S. I had Macklin Celebrini and Connor McDavid up front, also with Juraj Slafkovsky. So I was 4 for 6, or 5 for 6. And yeah, my only swap would have been Werenski, but I can understand Makar.
Absolutely. So there is your all tournament Canadian, or make that all tournament Olympic team. And those guys all were truly outstanding. That was Ask the Insider. Now on to hashtag hockey. We do it every show. And it really was, the Johnny Gaudreau empathy and sympathy for the family, mom and dad, obviously Meredith, the children. It really was something. We've seen a lot of it over the last couple of years, but it hit again today, Frank.
It did, and I think why it hits and why there's a million reasons why it's so beautiful, because everyone's invested, right? The players, this was their friend, their teammate, their brother that had gone through a lot of these things that we're talking about, the program and building up USA Hockey, and to see them obviously invited to Milan to see his jersey in their locker room throughout the tournament, and then to be brought on the ice and them to remember him so quickly. Like, some guys picked up a flag, other guys picked up the jersey. And so this was the photo that I took from the press box. I mean,
nice.
Beautiful to see. And then to see them bring Johnny's kids on the ice for their team photo with the gold medals. Like, it sends a chill down your spine. Like, it really does. And these guys, it shows how, like I said yesterday, Mike Sullivan mentioned that this is the closest team he's ever been part of, which is jarring because he's won 2 Stanley Cups back to back. And you would think that there'd be a lot of connective tissue there. And he wasn't saying it to knock the Penguins at all, but to say that this group, it's not just a group of players that are together for 2 weeks. it's guys that have been building this brick by brick. That Johnny Gaudreau is probably really emblematic of that. That he was right in there, wired in with these guys.
Absolutely. And of course, Werenski, his teammate for a time in Columbus, the captain, Auston Matthews and Matthew Tkachuk. And yeah, when they brought they took multiple team pictures on the ice first, just the players, and then they brought out the children of Gaudreau for another one, and the whole staff came out as well. And yeah, it's just, obviously it would have been sad in any way had he passed away, obviously at the age that he did, but all the circumstances made it so incredibly sad. It was that, there's their sisters getting married the next day. They're on a bike pedaling from the reception, the rehearsal dinner, and they're just going home on a beautiful summer evening. Obviously, just starting a young family with a beautiful wife, and mom and dad are at the height of their joy as their daughter getting married, their boys, their families together on a gorgeous, gorgeous summer's day, and all of us can just think about those last moments, and that's what made it so sad. And now to honor him this way and to remember those who have passed, it's so important that we do that as a culture, as a country, as a world, as a planet, that we do things like that, because it really does
Yeah.
help us to, hey, live for today, love each other, take care of each other, don't take things so seriously.
Well, and don't stop talking about them either. Just because
Yes,
they're
that's what I
gone
mean.
doesn't
Yes.
mean that we can't remember and share in those memories. And so, as painful as I'm sure it was for the Gaudreau family to see them have a little smile on their face today with the U.S. winning, um, just an amazing moment.
And again, I'm happy for a couple of close friends on the staff, and David Quinn, who got to experience that. John Tortorella, who I've worked with at ESPN a couple of stints, and currently working with him again now. Really happy for Torts. Obviously, the coaches don't get medals, but they certainly can get a commemorative item. I'm sure that they can, obviously, USA
How about
Hockey
some
will either
rings?
grant them. Yeah, or they get a cool ring. And again, for Mike Sullivan, they back-to-back cups, 16, 17. They did win a playoff round the next year in 18, but since then, the Penguins lost 4 straight playoff opening round series. Then they didn't make the playoffs the last 3 years. It's been tough going in New York this year. Like Mike Sullivan kind of needed this gold medal as well, Frank.
And pushed a lot of the right buttons.
Yeah, he made
There
line
were
adjustments. He put lines in a blender. I was shocked to see that late in the game.
there was a ton of criticism headed his way, and you know he can't win again, doesn't know what to do, whatever it might be. Not there was people knocking his pregame speech, whatever part of it was caught on camera. Look, it's always about the players, but you need the support system. You need the people around you that make it all work. And the US had a tremendous staff. Canada did as well. And they deserve a lot of credit for putting these players in a position. The messaging, 36 players in USA Hockey history have won gold. That was the constant drumbeat. You've got this opportunity to join this elite club. 1980, 1960. People will be talking about 2026 forever.
And right, and so we'll see. 4 years is a long time until the next one. We'll see if Bill Guerin heads that one as well. But a lot can happen. The Sharks might become a couple Stanley Cup winning teams in a couple of years, and maybe Mike Greer will get a shot at running USA Hockey and picking the Olympic team. Who knows? And from the Canadian side, Frank, obviously, John Cooper, he was hoping to add a gold medal to his treasure chest. And we'll see if he's back in 4 years. You think pretty good chance he could, but in terms of those who are on the selection committee, again, 4 years is a long time. We'll see what happens as Team Canada. We mentioned the young players coming their way, a little bit bigger chest that they have to choose from than Team USA. So these things, everything has wins and losses have ramifications for everybody involved.
Which brings us to our last word.
Yes.
I had a million thoughts, as I mentioned, in my brain today. I'm not a very religious person, but I woke up and went to mass in Italy at a basilica. I mean, not
Cool.
many times you can do that. And I just have a ton of gratitude for just the ability to be here and see this and experience it. And I was also just thinking, like, part of what makes this such a special event and why there was so much build up to this is that it's been 12 years since the last time. And these Olympiads, they come and they go, and 4 years and feels long, and then at times I'm sure feels short in between. But why we went 12 years without this and how important this was and how big it was for the sport as a whole. I don't care about the people at home that are barking about getting up at 8 a.m. or whatever time the gold medal game would be if it was in Korea or China or wherever. This is a world stage. And it's not often that this sport, the most international of all the sports, gets a chance to celebrate on this stage. And we love this sport. We eat, sleep, and breathe it, but not everyone else does. And to be able to share that with what makes our, like, this was hockey today. It was, you want to take this and bottle it up because it's the best version of hockey. And so to share that with everyone else was amazing. I just can't believe that it took 12 years to get here. And I can't believe that it's going to be another 4 before we're there again. And the World Cup will be great in 2028, wherever it's played. But the World Cup will never have the history of the Olympics. And that's amazing.
Yeah. I think it can have potential though, because the Canada Cup, again, that was different because the Soviet Union had a mystery about them. That was really interesting. And we didn't know much about those players, but I think the NHL could really create and to have best on best every 2 years, Frank. This is a great chance for hockey to globally, in which the NHL is very aggressive at. They have social media teams that are trying to grow the game in Europe and Russia. And again, it'd be great to have the Russian players back involved in 2 years. I hope they are. But this is a big chance for hockey to grow now. We have this best on best momentum.
No doubt. And I have no doubt that it will. This is going to be that moment that people want to learn more about it. And are not only that, you may not be directing your kid to play, or you may not be signing up for Learn to Play, but you may be buying tickets to your local team to go watch them in person. You may be watching more hockey on TV. I say all the time, it's one of the worst sports on TV. It's the best live sport in person, bar none. And that's why we've got work to do as a sport to get more people involved, because this game is as good as any.
I think it's a great TV sport. I love watching it on TV. And yeah, as I lose my voice on this very long, frankly, hockey, as we go out. So, all right, Frank, travel safely. I hope you do the rundown for the show tomorrow, because I don't know how to do it. But I'll be here tomorrow.
I'm actually going to be here tomorrow because we're getting a snow dump in Philadelphia. So my flight's canceled. So it'll be me and you from Milan. We'll talk about a little bit more about the fallout from this. And we'll also talk about where we're heading next in the NHL, because the trade freeze lifts tonight at 11:59 Eastern time. And
you think there'll be some trades right off the bat that are arranged?
I believe there are a couple in the hopper. I don't know exactly what they are, but those are the whispers around the league, that there's some stuff that's been percolating. The Nashville Predators are one of the team that's been talked about as a team that maybe has something done. I think there's been a lot of talk about Evander Kane and the Vancouver Canucks as well. I think they wanted to get that off their plate. So those would be a couple things I would keep an eye on, and I'll have a new trade targets board and we'll be able to dive in and get to all of it.
Well, sorry your flight's canceled. Obviously, the NHL players from Canada and the U.S. were going to fly to New York tomorrow, but they can't do that. So now they're going to go to Miami to get home from there. It sounds like the president has invited some of the players to his State of the Union address this week. I'm not sure if they'll be able to make it. They do have to go back to work this week. And yeah, I love the Olympics. I love Olympic hockey, but I love the NHL. I love the day-to-day rhythm of it. I watch games every night. I really miss it. I'm looking for it coming back, and it's going to be tough not having hockey the next couple of days. And I must be the only guy who can't wait for that Wednesday Jets-Canucks game on ESPN Plus, because I'm looking forward to getting back to my routine.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the trade deadline. We are 12 days away, so tomorrow will be 11, so buckle up.
All right. So, Frankly Hockey, we're back with you tomorrow. Frank can't make it home. So, yeah, we could have some trades overnight tonight, early tomorrow. So, we're back talking NHL. Obviously, there'll probably be a few Olympic reverberations as well tomorrow. And really looking forward to getting back the stretch drive. We hope, again, the sport has some momentum from this that really didn't last year, Frank, after the Four Nations success. We didn't really see the momentum transfer over to the NHL. Would more people watch, get involved? But like you said, the Olympics sometimes can make things stickier, and maybe Dylan Larkin and there's some people in Detroit who are now going to follow the Red Wings more because they saw that gold medal go over his neck. We'll see what this does for other players. Does it take some pressure off Auston Matthews? Will he go? Connor Hellebuyck, like we said. So it's going to be fascinating to talk about in the days ahead and the months ahead, and we hope that our great sport continues to grow, because we love talking about it and we love you watching us. So thanks so much again for downloading, for watching us wherever you are watching us. This is Frankly Hockey. We're here 5 days a week. Special bonus time on the weekend this weekend, but back tomorrow with Frank as we begin the drive now to the greatest trophy in hockey, the Stanley Cup, which will be awarded in June. That's Frank. I'm John. We'll see you tomorrow on Frankly Hockey. Thanks so much for watching.